It's a guy.
Ah?
Don't kill him.
Who kill him? I'll kill him.
English in Torah. We'd like to welcome the ganze Torah to today's shir. Today we have the cover to have Rav Shmuel Felder Shlit to answer the shaylas. Anybody, I think the last time Rav Shmuel Felder said that anybody has a shayla b'negeya, the zach that was speaking about, you could ask a rai. There's a two-part shayla. About Philip, who is a Ben Eretz Yisrael, and he's davening Chutz La'aretz. And usually on a Chodesh, where you don't say Halal Shalom, he doesn't make, his minhag is not to make the bracha on Halal. But the Maisa now, he's davening Chutz La'aretz, but they didn't make the bracha. What should he do? Similarly, a Sephardi who got the Haftarah by Mincha on a Tainus Tzibur, and his minhag is not to say Haftarah, what should he do?
It's after the Gemara, Pesachim Daf Kavod, Hamoed Aleph. Gemara has a story of Ashi Iklin Mechuzah. Ashi came to Mechuzah. Amrulay, so the people of Mechuzah told him they had a chash of a guest, so they said, the Kaddish Mara Kiddush Rabbah, you should make it was by day. They said you should make the Kiddush Rabbah. So Rav Ashi, it seems, wasn't used to the lashon of Kiddush Rabbah. We know we say Kiddush Rabbah and Kiddush Yain, even though it's just by Pri Gavin. Some say it's a lashon Saginah. Some say because you always say by Pri Gavin, by every other, by any occasion. So that's why it's Kiddush Rabbah. But he wasn't used to that lashon Kiddush Rabbah. So it says, the Gemara says, Mechte, Kala Brachas Kulan, he didn't know what to do. So he said, Mechte, Kala Brachas Kulan, Pai Pri Gavin Manshach, whether the Kiddush is the night's Kiddush, that's why they called it Kiddush Rabbah, or if it's a day Kiddush, or Pai Pri Gavin. He said, any Kiddush starts with Pai Pri Gavin anyhow. So, I'll say Pai Pri Gavin, Agape, I'll schlep it out, the Pai Pri Gavin, do it very slow, and the end very slow. So then I'll see if somebody from the crowd starts reaching out for the wine. So I'll know that the Kiddush is the Pai Pri Gavin. If everybody just waiting and sitting there, then I'll realize that the Kiddush is the night's Kiddush. They're supposed to be saying night's Kiddush. So then I'll know that it doesn't stop at Pai Pri Gavin. They're supposed to say the whole night Kiddush. And Taka, that's what he did. And Chazi Lahai Sabah. As he finished the Pai Pri Gavin, when he left with it, he saw this old person, the Gacham Shasi, that he stretched out his hand and he drank. They say he had his own case, that's why he was like drinking for him. So he said, oh, Nayicham, that was his raya. That was his raya. That Rav Ashi's raya, that the whole Kiddush is a Pai Pri Gavin. And Mela, he drank after he didn't make the whole Kiddush. That's the Gemara. That's the Gemara. Rather, they bring down that Tyson Chulin, Tavov says that when it says Hosaber in the Gemara, it means Eliyah Navi. That's what brings down. So they say the Eibush had made a special thing that Eliyah Navi should come down. He shouldn't be embarrassed. Rashi doesn't know how to make what the right Kiddush is, so he sent him special in a Shemayim to save Rashi from the Kiddush. That's the Gemara. So L'chaira, Safed the Gemara, that means if he wouldn't have had the raya that the Kiddush is just going to happen, he would have made the whole Kiddush for them by day. What do you mean? It's his minhag was not to make the whole Kiddush by day. It's just he thought maybe that's their minhag. So you see l'chaira black and white from the Gemara that even though your minhag is not to do such a thing, if their minhag is to do it, you have a right to do it for them. Right. the back of the Gemara, there's a picture of Ein Horowitz. He shows them how the Gemara. What do you mean? He held that you're not allowed. He held you're not, it's a brother of a fellow. How can he do it? So he says that maybe he wants to say that he thought that they didn't make Kiddush by night. They missed Kiddush by night. The halacha is that you don't make Kiddush by night, so then you make the whole Kiddush by day. So that's what he wasn't sure. Is that they need the whole Kiddush because they didn't make Kiddush at night? So that if they didn't make Kiddush at night, if they need the Kiddush at night, he's allowed to make Kiddush. That's what it says. So Yashiv says it's very shver, such a pshat. Because he says that there's nothing to learn from this Gemara. What halacha do you learn from the Gemara? It's a story without anything to learn. Maybe the Gemara is Chachamei Nebereisha, but the Rif brings down the whole Gemara. So it must be that you learn some halacha from the Gemara. So what halacha do you learn from the Gemara? Must be that he was allowed to make the Kiddush by day, even though the Shita say you don't make the whole Kiddush by day. So there's a tshuva from the Chidah in the Chaim Shah, inside Kaz, that he has a case like this. At Ben Eretz Yisrael, that this Shad, years, that you is, that the person that he's from Eretz Yisrael, he only says the bracha when you finish the halal. He doesn't say the bracha on the Yef halal. And he came to Chutz La'aretz. And the place, they say the bracha on the halal. And Lahachas, they were mechaber him that he should be the chazan. Seems he couldn't refuse. So he said, the Maisa was, the Chibah brings down the Maisa was, that he made the bracha and halal, and he was mitzvah the Chol. And somebody came up to him and told him, you're a Ben Eretz Yisrael, what did you do making bracha? It was a bracha of Atola that you made, and you made everybody go home without the bracha, because you're a bracha of Atola. You can't be mitzvah somebody with a bracha of Atola. That's so the Chidah says, Shaparapit. He had a right to do it. And he brings down this Gemara, that's this Gemara that you see he was ready to make the Kiddush by day, but then the whole Kiddush by day. And he says, since Arvis is a Chiv Arvis, so he's called Mechuyev Davar Al Arvis, so he's Mechuyev to make a Bracha Al Arvis, so it's not a Bracha of Torah, and they can be Mitzvah, because he's Mechuyev and they can. That's what he says. So it's a black and white Gemara that you can make a bracha for Yena, since Yena is mechuyev, even though you hold Yena mechuyev, your man does not. But as long as Yena holds mechuyev, you can make a bracha for Yena, and you may say Yena.
Isn't the Shliach Tzibur in Eretz Yisrael also makes the bracha? Even if you hold it, you don't make a bracha, but the Shliach Tzibur makes the bracha. I think so.
It seems from the Chidah, I can't tell you. They don't.
Now in the Knesset of the Churva. And the Shliach Tzibur made the bracha, and no one else made the bracha.
What's the shot? What's that?
The Goyin.
The Goyin holds you make a bracha.
Okay, the Goyin says you don't make a bracha, and only Shliach Tzibur makes the bracha. That's what they did in the Churva.
Okay, but I can wonder in the Chidah, that wasn't in the But the Chidah,
down there, Yisrael, they didn't say it's wrong.
okay, it seems that there's different places. I wonder, that's a Chidah's Chaya, from Gemara, and that's what he says. But Betzim there, it's no Ryan, in our case that we're talking about. We have the same Shaila, that the bracha person is making, he's from Ben Yisrael, he wants to make the bracha in Halal, and his minhag is that he only makes Chatzal. Because the Chidah, the case was, and he says that he was being mitzvah the Chol. It seems that minhag, and the same thing, Ashi, he was going to be mitzvah the tzibur. The Tajman was mitzvah. So then, to be mitzvah the tzibur, since they have that minhag, they do it, so they're mechuyev. And he has a din harvest, he mitzvah them what they're mechuyev, so he's allowed to make the bracha for them. That's harvest. But in our case, as far as I know, when the chazan gets up to say the bracha and halal, he's not being mitzvah the tzibur. Everybody makes the bracha themselves. Unless somebody goes over to him and he says, could you mitzvah me? But I'm saying, the mal is not, the chazan does not mitzvah. So complete, he's not being mitzvah anybody. So it doesn't pass the harvest that he should have a chiv to make the bracha. What's he's not making a bracha stamazai. So charetz bracha v'tola. So there's no right from the chidah that in our case that the chazan has a right to make it. And that's it in the Kavachayim, the Tavkabeh, is also, when he speaks out this thing, he says, even the tzibah, the yaisib, or b'chasai, maybe he has a right to make it. So it would seem in our case, Taka would be us. There's a Shuvin Ramosha has a Shuvin Chel Beis, it's inside a gallery. He talks about a case, a person, his minig is to say, not to say hallow, the night of Pesach. And he's in a shul that they say hallow, in Pesach after the davening. Right? So he talks about, is he allowed to say hallow? The hallow you could say, but is he allowed to say the bracha and hallow? Because according to him, his minig is he doesn't make that bracha. Who done? I think it's Sfard and Ashkenaz. Pesach night, who says hallow with the bracha? I think Sfard and Ashkenaz. Anyway, so he's Ashkenaz, he doesn't. So he's not an issue. So the Moshe says that if it's not nikkur, it's not a problem. He doesn't have to say it. Nobody's going to know. But he says to go out, everybody's saying it. He's going to leave. He's not allowed to do that. That's all she is. So he's doing what he wants. That's what he said. But he says, but the bracha, nobody's going to know if you're making a bracha, so say the hallow without the bracha. But he says, let's say it's going to be nicker that you're not making the bracha. Or he says that they will mechaber him, he's the chazan. He says, then he makes the bracha on the hallow the night of Pesach, even though it's not his minig. And he says, where do you get such a thing that he can make the bracha? So he says, it's in the Gemara Pesachim Kavav. The Rashi made was ready to make the whole thing for the people. By day, even though he felt that's you don't do that. He never did that. So he says, "What's pshat?" Moshe says, "What's pshat?" What do you know? I used to bracha with Torah. He says, "Al yishan b'nei machlekes." Since there's a din on yishan b'nei machlekes, you're allowed to make the bracha. That's what pshat in Rashi. So he says this thing. The person also pays on night. Since Lamaisa, if he's not going to make the bracha, he's the chazan. It's al yishan b'nei machlekes. So it's not a bracha of Torah. He's allowed to make it. That's what Moshe says. So according to Moshe, it's mavur that he also that it's not a bracha of Torah. That then, just like al yishan b'nei machlekes, the Chacham said, don't be mishana, and you have to keep the minute of the malkim. The same thing, al yishana, and you have to keep the minute of the malkim, and even to make a bracha, because the bracha. Who said you can't make a bracha b'Torah? The Rabbanan. Same Rabbanan said that you can't make a bracha b'Torah. Said, Nayim Machlekes, you can make a bracha, so you're ready to make the bracha. And Mela, that's what Moshe says. What? If he's allowed to make the bracha, it's not a bracha b'Torah. He's not making a bracha b'Torah. He's ready to make the bracha. Yishan Machlekes, that's what it says. That's what Moshe says. When you're Moshe, you say of making the bracha, it's not a thing outside this. If you say making the bracha is stam outside Yishem and name of Chaykas. So it comes out a very big mouth from you. Under Moshe, the heter to make the bracha is not because they're mechayiv. And mainly you have a kiyav aris here. Everybody says, "Well, Yishem and Chaykas." So even in case you're not being mitzi them, also you will make the bracha according to Moshe. Really, you could ask under Moshe, what's from Moshe's right from the Gemara? Yeah, the pshat is there was a chiv arvis. So chiv arvis, so mainly it's no chiv arvis. How can you play ice? That is a head down. Say Shem and Mephlagas. I think the pshat of Moshe held that the chiv arvis means that pshat is because you had this mechayiv. You're mechayiv. So Pasha you learn you're mechayiv to do what he needs. Because there's a time of Devar it says American. And he says the Yisayt of Arvis is that Klal Yisrael is one neshama. So if that person is missing a certain mitzvah or a certain bracha, so it's like you're missing because you're one neshama with him. So Mela, you're mechayiv taka because your neshama is going to be missing. So Mela, you could say that's only if you could say your neshama is going to be missing. But if you hold you don't even say it, he has a minute to say it. You hold you don't have to say it. You don't say so, but it doesn't make sense to say that your Mishum is going to be missing something that you hold that you don't even say it. So that's what Moshe said. It doesn't pass the whole square of the harvest. So Mela, that's Shver the Gemara. How could he do it? He didn't say harvest. So he understood it's how you should have been Malachis. And that's how the Moshe lived. So Mela, according to Moshe, it would be Mutah. According to the Chidah, it would be Mashma, that it's only in the case of being Mitzvah. I saw later in Beki Yosef, he done celebration on the Torah. He talks about a case of his meaning is not just Shol. He doesn't say Baruch Hashem Leilam Bami. In Chutz La'aretz, the minyan, a lot of places, most of the places do say Baruch Hashem Leilam Bami. And he came to a place, they mire, they say Baruch Hashem Leilam Bami, and they mechabed him to dam to the Amid. So there he brings the others say no. Then he brings from Rishayim, that if he's the Chazan, that he should say it. You're not might see anybody with the bracha Baruch Hashem Leilam Amen. So it's mashma from there, from that Beki Yosef, that he helped this Yisrael Ramosha. But else he's shown them there, he let us say. So I think Halacha L'Maisa is have the Beki Yosef. That seems to also goes with the sheet of Ramosha. It's a Chiddush, but else she's shown them there, Maflekas, was going to make people, it's not the minute, you're allowed to say the bracha. And it's not and you do like the minute.
Do you try to avoid being Yisat?
Yeah, why should he get into them? But if they ask him, and they have a passion, why isn't he davening? Every time he davens, all of a sudden it's the first time he said no. So that's Al Shisham B'nei Machlekes, thinking it's obvious.
Everybody knows there's two different Menhagim. Everybody knows there's two different Menhagim. Some people say bracha halal, some people don't say.
But there isn't any Ayisham and Melchik. Every Ayisham and Melchik, you can say, what's high, but be Mashana, everybody knows. Yes, you don't say that.
The same would be with the Sfari, with the
Sfari, so it would be all the cases like this. It would be, if the Menik HaMakim is one thing, and then the Chabin and it's going to come out that you're doing good for the Makim.
What if he missed the night of Sfira? What if he missed the night of Sfira? And now we have him to that. So they could walk on Sfira? He missed the night of Sfira. A person missed the night of Sfira. So he can't make a bracha. So he has to daven.
So Rav David is asking a shaila. Let's say a person missed the night of Sfira, so now he can't count his bracha. So every night he asks the next person next to him to be mitzvah. And now they ask him go up to lead a chazan. Now, if he's naked and make the bracha, he's going to be very embarrassed that he missed the night of Sfira. That's true, but it's not a machlekes. That's not how you shout with machlekes. Nobody's going to make a machlekes with him. Why did you miss the night of Sfira? He might feel bad, but that's nothing to do with Aisha. So maybe about it, he can't make a bracha. But he can ask somebody. That's what they did in Eitzah. Let's say a Rav. Forgot, it's not covered a Rav. So the Rav should ask one of the people in the thing. Stand next. You don't have to stand next. When I make the bracha, you'll be nice. You'll be nice.
Can one make a birchas hanenin for a yid that doesn't know how to make a bracha? Within arvis, because it's also to eat without a bracha, and the person doesn't know how to make a bracha. So could you make the bracha b'shem Hashem for that yid? And similarly, could one make a bracha for a couple?
Oh, so what's the shama? Nice that the person's not going to be able to eat unless you make the bracha. So you should go with the person shouldn't eat. Clear, I don't see the shama. But there's often a halacha not like that. There's a few places. First place, the shul brought down in Kuf Samach Zayin test. It says like this: Mi she'eino eichel, a person that's not eating himself, ein yochel levorach birchas hamaitzi l'hais v'achayim. You can't make a bracha hamaitzi to be maitzi to other people. He says at the time of yochel levorach, even if it's la'alskin. And Mishmur explains, Ms. Muhammad is talking about a maitzi, but he says not just a maitzi. Any birchas nehanan. You can't be, if you're not eating, you can't make a bracha for somebody else. I harvest, whatever. So he says, no, it's not enough. No. The Tafke Berchas HaMitzvah is Shekal Yisrael HaRavens, that is He's not going to have the mitzvah. It's like you don't have the mitzvah. Mashkein Birchas Nehanen. Shein Chayva al Nehanen Levarach. Asla Hennes Meal Mezel with Bracha. About if you want to eat, you have to make a bracha. Because Malcolm Biyadish Lehennes. You can't say that he's missing the bracha because if he doesn't need the bracha. So he's not missing the bracha. The only time it's past Arvis is here is Mechoyev. But he's not Mechoyev to make the Shakel, he's not Mechoyev to make the Maitzi, let him not eat. So the Mechaber says there's no din Arvis on Birchas Nehanen. Back in my Mechaber. So the Mechaber says, a cotton, it's chinuch. That you're allowed to, it's chinuch, you're allowed to teach him, that's a different thing. And even though, and Mishnah says even more, not only your own katan, even as a katan d'alma, is also, he says you could be mechanech the other kid. Also, it seems that even though there's no chiyuv chinuch on the father, but there's a kiyum mitzvah chinuch. Anytime you mechanech anybody, it's kiyum mitzvah, so the kiyum mitzvah is good. Chabad says klar that a gadol is no din arvis, you can't make a birchas nehanen. And Mishnah is meiser. The Mechaber is not that talking about a different person. He says, also, you can't make a bracha. There's no arvis. What was the question again?
This Yid is not going to make a bracha. And he's going to eat.
He doesn't know. Let's say he's just becoming from. He doesn't know how to make a bracha. So maybe you could tie that Bishleim, a person that knows how to make the bracha, though you're not teaching him to make bracha. So then you want to say al sarvis. So mela al sarvis, there's no chiyuv arvis. There's leila hanav leila vara. But you're talking about a person that doesn't know how to make a bracha, just like a kid doesn't know how to make a bracha. You have a right to make a bracha for the kid. So then if the person doesn't know, he's like a kid. So you should be able to make the bracha of him not worse than a kid. But it says you let him make a bracha with a kid. Okay.
Is there such a thing as a chinuch on a grown-up?
Why not? I would think if you asked me Misvar, I would say it's Kam Chayner. Madach is supposed to be Mechana, a kid to make a bracha. Tosh Kein Gadol, that's Mechuyev in the bracha. Kam Chayner, Ben B'Reisha Kam Chayner, you should be Mechana. What do you say?
Not your son.
Huh?
Not your son.
No, but Mishmur says that with Gabi a cotton, even if it's not your cotton, you could make the bracha, and how would make the bracha with him? Is that because even though you're not Mechuyev with him, but also that's what I would say, L'chayra. That's you could say it. But Mishnah says black and white, not like that. Mishnah speaks out in the beginning when it says the Mechaber says it can't be mitzi. He says that pilla ein hashemei yachol var ba'atzmai. Even the person that can't make the bracha himself. Also, you can't make the bracha. And the Shatzin says, where does he get such a chiddush? If he doesn't know how to make the bracha, I would have thought you could. He says, Eilis Tamin Upashit. It's not even. He doesn't have to say the reason. It's so pashit. Anybody can figure out the reason that he says that's pashit. He doesn't explain it. So one thing maybe you could say, like you're saying, that the chiyuv chinuch is a din d'Rabbanan. The chiyuv chinuch, the Rabbanan shtal the vet and a cotton. The kedailim, how shliach is it? Especially in the time of Chazal, that they made care of that people didn't know how to make the brachos. It wasn't shliach, so they never made it to chinuch like kedailim. So once there's no chinuch, so mela you can't make a bracha. You could say there's a mitzvah to be makar v'chaykim and everything. Now, forget about chinuch, there's mitzvah in the middle. Okay, so you'll have to figure out other ways how to teach him how to make a bracha. The different ways of English and start off and then teach him, but maybe the chemitzvah's chinuch, they never made them such a gadol. Maybe you could say that. Or you can say...
Can't teach him the bracha?
Huh?
Can't teach him how to say the bracha?
Well, the shaila is why Why can't you make the bracha for him, just like for a
You can't make for
katan?
him, but you could teach him to speak to him. You could teach him. If your Torah is teaching, you could teach him. You're allowed him.
Yeah, but for the katan, you're allowed to say the bracha, al schina. But still, for the gadol, you can't say the bracha. The shaila is what's so one way you could say there's no schina. You could say more. There's a chazanish. Chazanish says an interesting thing. He says in this case that it says that you make the bracha with the kid al schina. He says, let's say somebody else is listening to that bracha, he can't be yaitz with that bracha. Because since the whole bracha is a chinuch dikah bracha, so maybe a person that's mechayiv in the bracha b'etzem can't be yaitz with a chinuch dikah bracha. It's not a real bracha. So maybe you could say that would be the reason. Otherwise, the gadol, even if you say there isn't any chinuch, he can't be yaitz with the bracha because this is both. He's a gadol, and a gadol can't be yaitz with a chinuch dikah bracha. So there's mechaber. Milchas Pesach, Topei Talmud, and he talks about that the person makes his own seder, and then he goes to other people's starim that don't know how to make starim. So Mechaber says like this: the Mlayadu Ba'atzma Levarach, and they can't make the brachas themselves. Yaimim Mayim Mila B'Mili. He says Baruch Atah, word by word. And the Shmuel says Yikriim Mila Mila, Vehem Yan Achra. They'll answer him. The choshe kair mila b'mila v'ach ein imay loy have a bracha v'atola. It's not a bracha v'atola. Have a b'shiyas mekvar. Why? The hari hu melam de levarach. The Mishnah verse says clear that even it's a gadol, you're allowed to teach a gadol that doesn't know how to make a bracha word by word and say the Shem Hashem Alikeinu Hashem Alikeinu, and because you're allowed to teach a gadol also. That's what it says. And he says in the Shatzim, it says in Tufsa Machayim that you can't make a bracha for the G'dayim Afil B'Nevaisa. They're talking about you making the whole bracha for them, and they want to be yaitz of the bracha. Ashken here to teach them how to make the bracha. Why are you allowed to teach them the bracha? But Akmanim says in black and white that even for a gadol, that you should teach a gadol and you say the Shem Hashem, bracha Hashem, like no bracha b'mila, and it's not a bracha b'atola, it's a bracha b'atola, but you're allowed to do it. But to be mighty then, that you can't be mighty. This is one of the two svaras we said that you raised. Come on, that's what it's Magor. So going back to the Shaila, could you make a bracha for somebody that can't make a bracha himself? And be mighty, the answer is no, because there's no obvious by brachas then. But what you can do is you can say word by word. Say after me, Baruch, Ata, Hashem. And he says you have to do, and that you're allowed to do. And then you can be yaitz and make it yourself.
And same thing by a cotton. The cotton also you would say.
Now, cotton, it says Clark, that it says the cotton, that you could say the bracha and al schila, it says he's yaitz al china. So that's the halacha. Then if it's a cotton, you can make, you don't have to say word by word. You can say the whole bracha of him, and he's yaitz al chinuch with his bracha. If it's a gadol, you might say the bracha, you can say the words one after another.
But cotton chinuch does have to be starting
at
age
the
of
age
chinuch, or it can be even younger.
No, it has to be chinuch. But it's a shaila exactly. The Hamoed talks about what age is about chinuch. Mishnah is mashma 5-6. So Chaim wants to say that once the person starts teaching the kid to say brachas, that's called the Geilah of brachas.
Usually
let's say you never teach them how to make brachas, but when they say that and Baba come to the house, you want to show off with the kid how smart it is, and you make the bracha with him. That's a bracha with him. Because that is not Geilah. I saw an interesting thing. In the Baba Hamoed, from Zilberstein, he has a shine like this, that this person, he became a Baal Shuvah, but his wife didn't want to go along with him. But she wasn't anti, but she said, leave me out. You could do whatever you want, but leave me out. So, he said, what about making brachas? I said, I told you, leave me out. So he said, well, what? Let's say you don't have to make the bracha. I'll make the bracha, and you'll just listen. By listening, you'll be yaitz. She says, okay, that I don't mind if I don't have to make. But he knew the halacha, the person, you can't make a bracha for somebody else. That's what we just said. You can't make a bracha. And to this answer, he used to say, Bara, she doesn't want it. The only way she'll mask it is if he makes the bracha for her. So what he did always, every time when she used to eat, he used to eat with her, and he used to make the brachas and eat, and then she was yaitz. A very simple solution. But he asked Zubashin, the Shaila, that he's going to daven in the morning, and she wants to go eat breakfast and then go to work. So now what should he do? What should he do? What should he do? Can you think of any eitzah? So he says, Rav Zubashin says, Pasha eitzah. Pasha eitzah. And take one crumb. She used to not wash for bread. She used to bread. Take one crumb, and you wash. You're supposed to wash even less than his eyes. Take one crumb. Make a mitzi, and she'll listen to mitzi. She'll be yaitza. You believe to make a mitzi one crumb. So that says that she'll be yaitza with your mitzi, and then she'll be able to eat the meal. No problem. So, but the shayla is what. But he said, but I'm before davening. He said, but to eat one crumb, even if your whole team is dasa, but to eat one crumb, in this case, that's the whole reason you're doing it. You might see Anna. You can eat that one crumb.
What would be in case if he couldn't? What would be in case he couldn't eat that
No,
thing?
there's
Whatever
no
she's
arvis.
eating.
You can't make a bracha. She won't be able to be mitzvah. That's the whole deal with saying. She can't be mitzvah, even if he says the bracha. She's not mitzvah. It's a problem.
There's no chiyuv to be menei somebody with issa if you could do it.
But she's not going to get the she's not going to get the bracha, even if he makes it for her. She's not mitzvah with that bracha. There's no dinarvis. So he made a bracha with talan. She ate without a bracha. So there's no gain. It's very important. It's very important. This thing, even the person who can't make the bracha, and if you're not going to make the bracha for him, he's going to eat without a bracha. You can't be mitzvah with the bracha. There's no dinarvis. You can't be mitzvah with him. So making the bracha for him is like a bracha of a Torah without even yitzah. There's no mind in making the bracha. That was the shot.
If he's providing the food, the problem with either.
He's not providing food. She bought the food. He didn't buy the food.
The case is not food.
It's not a thing. He bought the food. She took care of the house. He didn't make it. Anyway.
Make a shahad.
What?
Make a shahad. It'll be mighty for. If you have to do a shahad.
No, what's the problem with making him mitzvah?
Because you already eat before shahad.
First of all, if she makes a chocolate, then she won't be mitzvah. It's a shayla to be mitzvah. Oh, come on, the crumb is not such
There's
no,
no
but
din
what he
avis.
said,
If somebody to be menei somebody issa, there's no din avis because of that.
no, but you're asking him
Not
to
al tanen, not birch tanen. I understand how that technical
Yeah,
works.
but arvis is that yet is missing something. If then is not missing anything because Leila had it, Leila Farah, you can't, there's no din arvis. That's the halacha in Shabbat. It's black and white. You can't, even on Svara, you're right. But the halacha.
Can you bench for somebody? Could you bench for somebody? He's missing benching. Can you bench
That's
for
a shayla.
somebody?
That's a shayla. That's what he wants to eat. That's a shayla. Pashas even benching. That's a shayla. What I'm saying is the Pashas even benching because he shouldn't have eaten. We don't get into that. But then the Rebbe Zimmer says that person asked him, but now what's going to be with benching? What's with benching? I can't bench on a crumb. So my allowed to eat the kazayas before they eat the meal and then eat the meal before davening. That was a shayla. That was a shayla. In other words, to save a person from not going away without benching, are you allowed to eat before davening? That was the shayla. And he goes back and forth. And he said he wants it, the Maskana, he wants to say it's like just like he's allowed to eat eichlin. If a person's sick, he's allowed to eat eichlin, l'shem refuah, because he's not eating l'shem gaiva. It's not more than the end. He's eating to save a person from going away without pension. He holds he can eat. So that's what his Maskana is.
That's the halacha of my
When it comes to Meister,
I heard a similar zach once there, Rav Felder mentioned, if somebody says, I'm not eating maybe kippah, but it's sakana for him. He says, B'shum lo'ino, I do this and I'll eat. Are you allowed to eat?
that's a big shayla.
Can one make a birchas hanen and, oh, we did that, I'm sorry. Can one allow a cotton to say the name of Hashem when he's practicing the mashal for laning? Can he say Birchas HaTorah multiple times just because he's practicing when he'll get Aliyah? And similar, can he practice the Birchas HaTorah?
The verse that's in Mechaber in Reish Tesvav, that says that you can't answer Amin on the Birchas HaKatan. So Mechaber says like this: Hadei na'im b'machatenik dafke b'shar shalayim habrachos l'pnei Rabbi. The Rabbi is teaching how to brachos, so he's not eating it. Shemuta l'lamed d'tanakas habrachah tiknan, even though it's a bracha l'tala. Ava l'shpashem heim mevarchem lifter as ha'atzman, when they make the bracha to pat themselves. Even the May Chinuchaim, I never prayed. So the Shmuel explains, it says, when the Rebbe is teaching them, so the recognition of things. But Shalaim, what does it mean? Shalaim it harabi ma'im ha-brachas shlevis man. He's teaching them the brachas. It's not when it's not the time to make the brachas. He's teaching brachas ha-tayra, brachas ha-sham, whatever. Afilu hafi mutal lahaskas Hashem. Afilu harab yochel lahaskas Hashem to dilamed atinayit latinik ha-brachas. Sharei al-kochav aretz shichem liuna d'bayim kedei lachamchem. From the Torah, the mitzvahs, that's what he says. So you're allowed to make the bracha with them, and they're allowed to say the bracha. That's the chayim, that's chayim. So it's a letter up in halacha that when you teach the child, you're allowed to teach him with the shame and everything. Oh, but the shayla is, what's the raya? What's the raya? There it's talking about a kid that he just started learning to make brachas. You're going to start teaching him with the word Hashem or Elokeinu, he'll never learn how to make brachas. Here we're talking about who do you teach the brachas haftarah? How old is the child when he teaches him? He's at least 12. So he's 12 now. He never made brachas before in his lifetime. He knows all the brachas. He knows you say Hashem, Adnes, again he knows. So he knows that when he makes the brachas Torah, when he gets the Torah, he has to say the Shem. So he might make a mistake again. But I'm saying that's not the case of Shuvah. So there's a Shuvah, and Ramesh has a Shuvah in Chil Beis in Zion. There he's talking about when you learn the Gemara, you're allowed to say the Psukim, you're allowed to say the brachas with Shem Hashem. Brings the Yain that says that even the brachas in the Gemara you're allowed, because he says you get used to saying the Hashem. So Moshe says, "Lay near a cloud." The Yain says, "Shari tzarach shomit." That he says that you have to know to get nusach the ragel al sheinai shalei. That's what the Yain says. Shemiyavad matzes by yedachavasa shalei shanu be'abrachas. He says that's svara. Utam rak umelamed him ktanim habrachas be'atzman echlamen. Al zeh yishlachas sheyisragu loy b'kameshim. They keep on teaching over and over, so then they're going to get used to it. They're going to say it the wrong way. That's what Mechaber is talking about. Mutter lamet like a bracha tikna. Ramesh says, Nirav Shaf Godel. Now, even a Godel should serve Islam that brachas you have to teach of Shuvah that the brachas, Yamuta Laimika Tikna. You can teach him over and over again with the Shem Hashem, because if you're going to teach him without the Shem Hashem, he's going to get so used to saying Hashem Hashem, and he makes the bracha, he'll say the same thing. And why it says Tinaikas is Rucha de Milsa, which Godel doesn't know, it says. But Yain, it says in the brachas in the Gemara, because how often does a person learn over the Gemara so many times that he gets used to saying it with Shem Hashem? Without, it's not the standard. And how often do the brachas come out? How come on? So the is black and white in Maisha, that a person that over and over you teach him the brachas, so that he's going to get used to saying Hashem Elokeinu, and then you have a right that he shouldn't be able to struggle. You have a right to teach him on this. But I think there is no raya for Ramesha. What do you say? I can't hear you.
He says they're teaching him the tune. Not necessarily. A lot of times they get nervous, so they want them to get
they teach him the brachas also.
Yeah, well.
how to say bracha. But I think it's all right for Ramosha, because Ramosha is talking about the teaching a person brachas, Hakol, Maitzi, all these things. And we keep on teaching Hashem Elokeinu. So he's getting used to that bracha with Hashem Elokeinu. So then, when he's going to make the brachas, nobody's around, he's making the brachas, he'll just get out of Hergel. Even though in the Seichel he knows he's supposed to say Adnas Hashem, but Hergel Master Tevi, he's going to do whatever. And not everybody makes the brachas with so much kavanah, and nobody's around to correct him. So they eat with a bracha with Hashem Elokeinu. That's so much. But here by the bracha Naftayra, or the Birchas HaTayra, what's the chash? The kid's going to get up and say the brachas, and he's going to start saying, Baruch Hashem. Is he going to go further or no? No. Right away, everybody's going to screaming. No. So right away, he'll catch himself. So he's not going to end up, he's going to make a one bracha, he's going to make the right bracha. So what are you afraid of? Moshe's own chash is that he's going to say hergelai. Here there's no hergelai because you'll fix him up. So there's no chash. What's the chash? The only chash is he'll get a little embarrassed. And his father will get embarrassed. And his grandfather will get embarrassed. And his family will get embarrassed. That's nothing to do with Ramesh's Shula. You want to say embarrassed? So that's what I would think. And that's nothing to do with Ramesh. You're not allowed.
The rule of the shul is no one's allowed to correct, only the rabbi's allowed to correct.
You should go to a different shul.
But that's assuming that the shul is going to correct him. A lot of times you see about tefillah.
Any shul. So I found afterwards, I looked around, that's why I felt when we saw it. I looked around, I found instead of Yishma Maisha, it's like a lick of him. He brings down this Shaima, and he brings from Nissen Karelitz and Chaim Kanevsky that you can't teach the kid the Torah and the thing. And I once asked Rav Yashin, he said the same thing. I didn't ask him the reason. I said the Shlit, but he said also that you can't. You're not allowed to do it. But the interesting thing, there he brings from Nissen Karelitz that if it's a kid that stutters, that you're allowed. He said because if he stutters, he's going to make a mistake, and you didn't start fixing him. You mess him up with the whole Birchas HaTorah. He's going to keep on studying the whole thing, and it's Shalat Kavod Abriyas. He's going to get embarrassed. It's Kavod Abriyas. So he says, "Oh, Kavod Abriyas."
The other thing is not Kavod Abriyas, but you can get embarrassed and say Shem.
It's not. Here, it's every second word he's studying. Somebody told me a Meredith story. Has the Indian vice Indian. That somebody at Talmud Chacham, he had his son was getting bar mitzvah, and he had a shiloh. Which hand should he put it on? Because lefty, righty. So shiloh, you go, what's the writing? Go, what's the kalchefa? It's complicated. But when this person was at Talmud Chacham in his own right, he held the person's a lefty. He came out. But he was very close to Ramesha. His family was close to Ramesha. So he called up Ramesha. Yes, Ramesha. Told him, my son, Shiva can my son. And then he asked him the Shaila. So Ramesha said, you hear the Shaila? They told him all the pratim, the back and forth. And they told him, I said, I had the Shaila. I have to think about it. I'll get back to you. He says, no, the Rashiva, the Zuntik, he called him up there. The Rashiva answered right away. Zuntik, Dr. Anton from Zuntik. Mitzvah Shem Pash Shabbos, the Machmitzvah. So, anyway, a few minutes before left tension, he gets a call from Moshe. He should put it on his left, in Yiddish. There's a leg enough to left, link on.
As if he's writing.
He's a writer. Well, Tim was a little, he didn't come out. It was a few minutes before left. He's not going to start arguing, right? Okay, then it was Shabbos, and then it was Sunday. So they put it on. He put it on his left hand, and that says Hiblibin. A few years later, he was by Rav Moshe. He was talking to Rav Moshe about something. Then he started talking about the Tefillin, and he reminded himself about. He says, "I will fragen der Shiva, Payet Shikta, der Shiva Gedenk." And was it gewesen? Wir haben es Martin and I said, "Nicht kämpfen." So Rav Moshe said, "America Gezach." He He said, I know your kid, because you always used to bring him. I see he had a problem with stuttering. I was afraid that since he has a problem with stuttering, if he's going to also put his tefillin on his right hand, like different, he's going to be different, two things from somebody else. He's going to be very self-conscious and make him feel bad. It's not good for the kid. So I had to be mafled with all the studim and everything. Maybe he should put on his right hand. But I knew you're a Talmud Chacham. If I'm going to call you, tell you right away, well, I'll call you back to the right. You're going to start arguing with me and everything. So I made sure to call you back a few minutes. You can't say anything. And that's this Bible. So he says, "Was verschiedenes macht der Chilek, der rechte Hand linke Hand." Said, "Was?" As I have gehabt. Anyway, he went home to his kid. His kid was 16 or so. I don't know how old he was. He said, "No one asked you something. Remember that we asked when Moshe, then when you were about mitzvah, get my mitzvah, which hand you should put it on?" He said, What were you expecting with Moshe? He says, "I don't know, Ta. One thing I tell you, I was davening with all my heart that Rav Moshe should say I should put on the left hand because I don't want to be different than some people." I said, "Sure, yeah."
Wow.
So, that's some interesting thing. We got the covered abrias. That they said that if the kids stutters and that even is covered abrias. So, there's different shuvas about covered abrias that you can make a bracha covered abrias. Is, let's say the lady had a baby before she got married, and she never told her husband. And now she gets married, it's a happy marriage. Now she finds they had their first baby born. So if the husband finds out she had a child before, it's a big shadow, So this is what I'm talking about. Maybe she doesn't have to tell the husband, and maybe there's after else covered up priyas.
Picking up in.
To make Pidyon Ben, you can make this with there's the but maybe else covered up priyas. She doesn't have it. It's a very interesting thing. In the kind of sad from he had a different case there. He had a case that the couple, they had a miscarriage. And they didn't want to tell their parents. Parents are different people, very worrisome people and everything. They wouldn't feel good. So they didn't tell their parents. And then after that, the first baby was a baby boy. They're not going to make a pigeon a pen. So the parents are going to say, "Why didn't you make a pigeon pen?" And say, "Well, it meant miscarriage." What? And you didn't tell us? You didn't bring, what? How could you, they hide it from us? What's wrong? It would be a very big problem in the family. So the pigeon pen I make, but what's going to be with the bracha?
C-section.
What?
Oh, it's a C-section.
Yeah, the C-section, she's sore. For sure you should tell us. It's even worse. Anyway, that was the Shabbat. So interesting thing, he is not a Shabbat covered abrias. It's just a Shabbat that the parents would be like, no, so he gives two interesting answers that he gave. Very interesting answers. One thing he says, have a cut in there, the kinds of thing in after answers. That's it, he brings down. Have a cut in there, and tell the cotton you want to be mechanachem in the bracham pidyon. That's one answer. The other answer, he says, also interesting, he says, make the pidyon and have in mind that you're being paid at the oldest kohen in the world that never had a pidyon and
We played two kahanim. Why take a different cotton? That he played the two kahanim, he played a child.
I don't understand.
Take a child that same day has to make a pidyon and have in mind that this thing you're going to be
No, but they want to do their own pidyon. They don't want you to put that pidyon.
The first dates they can't answer Amen.
What?
The first dates they can't answer Amen.
What?
Amen.
Okay, I guess I'll finish it off. Anyway, that's his two answers. Looking down, there was a big tumult. Not everybody agreed with the both cases.
What about practice the ladies in the Shem Hashem?
But
What about practicing the ladies?
no, laning is not proper because you let us say a person. So same place.
Someone said it's good that the couple, all not they're doing complicated. He's going over 100 times.
It says in the Shulchan Aruch that the Torah should stop, even if you don't know what you're saying, it has a shame commentary.
If somebody, this is a new shiloh, didn't happen 10 years ago, we didn't have these shilohs. If somebody ordered an Uber driver to come Motzei Shabbos from Mamish by his man, so he can leave the marshal to the airport, this is when they get a lot of chassidim that run to the Rebbe's for Rosh Hashanah, they have to have to catch the flight this year, Motzei Shabbos. So they ordered an Uber driver, he came Mamish by his man, Motzei Shabbos. And they have the shmuz, and it turned out that this Uber driver was a Yid. And from where he came, he drove on Shabbos. What should they do?
Well, the question is an assumption that if it would be a guy, then there's no problem. So the truth is, even a guy is a problem. So the guy was driving on Shabbos, that he should be there. Minute after 72, you're making a guy drive on Shabbos.
The guy could have drove here Friday.
So you're saying America Gazan. But that you're making the guy drive for you on Shabbos. The guy could have driven Erev Shabbos, parked his car right out of your house and sleep in the car all Shabbos. Maybe he'll be there a minute after Shabbos. That's like you're making him do it for you. The Chassidic has a shubha. He talks about this Shaila, and he says that the guy's going to come Erev Shabbos, he's not going to spend the whole Shabbos there, he's going to lose the whole day of work. He's not starting this thing. He says, so that's not called Yochel Lasses B'derech. The only time you say Abayta the Nafshay is some way within. Maybe it's hard for the person, but it has to be something normal. If it's not normal, that's not called Abayta.
He could have dropped off the car and walked to his house. I mean, it's not my chef how he does.
But he wants to work the whole Shabbos.
That's his problem.
Yes, so it's not the mouth. So you know what they say, let's say you have a carriage with a baby in the carriage, and you came to a hotel and you're in Chatham, a hotel that's on 15th floor. So you schlep up the carriage with the baby, 15 miles, but there's a guy there. So you make up with him before Shabbos. You say, you know what? I'll give you $15. Every time I want to go to my apartment, you have a choice. Either you carry the carriage up to 15 flats. I'm just paying you $15. No. Either you carry the carriage up to 15 flats, or if you want, you go into the elevator. Whatever easier. The Storm say that's not called a guy to the nafshi. That nafshi has to be that he has choice that makes it might be harder for him. But I think that no normal person would do, that's not called a guy to the nafshi. So that means Chassidus was saying the same thing. It's not a daita de nafshe that he should stay there, but the whole Shabbos and lose a day's work because we want him in the Shabbos. That's what he says in his Vasa.
But I think it could be, but Uber drivers are a little bit different because the way Uber drivers work, if an Uber driver is in the neighborhood, let's say he's in the neighborhood, they tag in to go. It's not like they order a driver from Friday and say,
yes,
you drive here.
In front of your house is 72, that's not a stop.
Good.
Okay, if the Uber was right in front of your house by 72, that's not fair. Okay, I saw in the Asher Yesh also, I think that from the Yasha, also the same thing, that make up with the driver that he should be there right at the Shabbos. It's awesome. It's not called the Dad Nafshi, and he's going to come, right? He's going to have to be there on Shabbos, drive on Shabbos. Now it's interesting, here, they bring down from the Yasha 2 cases. First of all, you have a car that you want to go someplace right after Shabbos. So he says it. Then they have another thing they said from the Yasha. Let's say you have a cleaning lady. You made a simcha. You want the cleaning lady to start right after Shabbos. So you make up with her right after Shabbos, she should be there. So they bring down both cases of the Yasha that it's part Because in both cases, the same thing. I once asked Rabbi Yashiv, the Mamish Schuyler, myself, this in person, I asked him not in the Piyashim. And I asked him, the cleaning lady, the car, could you do with the car? He said, no, because he has to come on Shabbos. And I asked him, what's with the cleaning lady? He said, yeah, you can go down, no problem. So I said, so what, isn't it the same thing? What's the difference? So he said, no, the partial difference. He said, buy the car, you want him to bring the car. Bringing a car is a malacha. So they're telling him, have the car there 72 minutes, a minute after 72. You're telling him to do a malacha, bringing a car on Shabbos. He said, cleaning lady, you're not telling the cleaning lady to do malacha, you're cleaning lady. Bring yourself there. She wants to bring with a car or something, that's in the game. But you're Amira, you're not telling the guy to do any malacha. You're saying to yourself. That's what he held that.
So if we tweak the shy a little bit, and we say, they told him to come right after this man, and there's enough minutes that he could come, that it's possible for the Uber driver to come when he's 3 miles away or whatever. But for the Yid...
One second. But if it's a Uber, because he's not talking about Uber, that's what right. If it's an Uber and the Uber is a few minutes away, then it's not a Shiloh. But that's the Shiloh by guy. But now the Shiloh is, let's say not by a guy. Let's say it's the Yid. You didn't even know. You see, you go outside and you see a taxi. And the Yid, and the man said, he was a Yid. And he came from half an hour away. And everything. So are you allowed to use the taxi or you have to wait? So there's a halacha like this, that if a guy does something for you on Shabbos, the halacha, if he does for you, not only you're not allowed to tell him, but you can't have a no either. Because the Rabbanim were afraid if you can have a no, you're going to tell him. So they would graze it, not to have a nana from it. Graze halacha, because you might tell him. So what's the halacha by a yid? Let's say a yid does a malacha for you. So it says in a yid's malacha, you're allowed to have a no from him. Why? It says 2 reasons. First of all, you're not going to tell him this with Nehima. Another reason, because even if you tell him he's a Yid, he's not going to listen to you. So there's no Gezerah. So that's why the Yid doesn't malacha. He can't have a no, right? But you could have a no. From a guy, the Yid doesn't malacha for you could have a no. There's no Isser of land. That's what it's like. But the Shiloh is what's with the mummer? What's with the mummer? So with the Church, we tell it. Mummer, you also have the idea with Nehima, but a mummer is going to do it with the mummer. So Pri Megadim says, Kar, Mummer is Aser, has a din like a Kai, and if a Mummer does something for you, you have every man. You could say, maybe a Mummer has a din like a guy, so the person tells guy, but a person that's a Tinish Shinishba, he's not like a Mummer. So maybe there is it, then it doesn't go into the, I don't know if the Shabbos brings down the Shabbos. He brings down that he spoke to Kamek Daily Yisrael, and they all held that even a Tinish Shinishba has the same din as a moment. We have this thing of the Hadis. Maybe a person won't be able to have a nah, only in Zman Kadesh Yaso of the Shabbos. So that, that's a Shas something, but that's the halacha. But you can't set up that he should come, even if by a guy. And if he does, you always have to wait till Kadesh Yaso.
What's when that is Shabbos? Kadesh Yaso?
What do you say?
Yeah, 72 Kadesh Yaso?
Stamina.
What's being done in Ma'aseh Shabbos? There's no issue on the law.
He drove on Shabbos.
If you're Rabbi Yasser, could you make up with the guy to drive your car? Come to my house at 72 and drive my car.
That would
be nice.
That would be nice. But you still don't want him to. I mean, by a guy.
By a guy.
Yeah.
Hire a guy to come to your house at 72 and drive my car to the airport.
You're saying good. Okay.
You should have, when you advertise this urgent shirah, put it in the paper together these days.
Yeah, and then
say it loud enough, it goes in the recording.
Well, also you should say it's a guy you said it, but Shane Hammer made it cool.
So just brought the gula.
What's the film between the cleaning lady? Yashiv said that it's not the elevator that Rav said that it was.
It's so complicated now.
Can one use frozen challah for lechem mishnah? And if yes, what happens if the frozen challah is in the freezer and it's mixed with other frozen stuff? And to get to it, you have to do a little bit digging.
There's a primitive in Reishaim Dalet talks about if you don't eat pasachim, and the only other bread you have is pasachim. Use that for Lechem Mishnah. So primitive handles it, and it handles this thing. But maybe there's certain cases pasachim. I'll say you're allowed to eat. He handles don't have anything else for Shabbos. You're allowed to eat. So the Shiloh is this frozen challah, the same as the Shiloh. In the Shmir Shabbos Gachasa, he brings down from that Perek Manhei, and he brings down that it's the tochen, that if it's so frozen that it won't be able to eat it that Suda, so you can't use it for Lechem Mishnah. So he says, but unless Taita Lahar Sudasai, that he's going to planning on lending his Suda so long that by the time he's still before benching, it'll be defrosted, then he can use it. He says, if not, it's Gitachim. And then the Sher Lady also, Rosen has a Shulman, he says that some Rishonim hold you have to be Beitzei and Shneim. Come on, even if you don't have to be Tzei and Shneim, it has to be right to be Beitzei. He says, it's going to defrost, but the Suda that he's eating, it won't be defrosted. So Mela, it's not called Rei Lachila, so he says it should be not like Tzei Lachachna. He wants to say that since you could mamshech your Suda, even though you're not leaning on, that's good enough that it's considered it's right. It also says that you can be mamshech your Suda, and also it says you can put it next to the heat and everything, so it'll be right. Some say you could cut it even if it's frozen, you could cut it up. And so you make it right. It seems it's a machlekes, this thing, frozen challah, in the case that you're not planning on it, you're not sure it's sort of long enough that it'll be edible. So it's machlekes, so that's the only challah you have, but now you can do it. If you want to know the kefillah, it's better.
You're saying shiur on Chol or royal bilein makeves. Says I could cut it off, I could come up with all these eitzes.
And that's the pashtus you're saying it, and I would have also thought like that. It was a chiddush. It was chiddush to me that the machmir. So I guess it's mechila. The person should be machmir. But I don't think you have to go to some extreme to be machmir.
Let's say he's going to be Ma'ir Suda.
No,
can he go digging it already in the freezer? If he has, can he go digging in the freezer?
No, the other shower. Shower is what? Let's say you don't have a different Lechem Mishnah, so you can use it when you send it to shower. But now we're taking it out of the freezer. You have to worry about anything when you take it out of the freezer. So there could be two possible problems taking it out of the freezer. One, a shower player, because there's a whole mixture with player. So the halach is, player is mutter if it's Lechem Miyad. So if you're doing it for the challah, that you're going to be Lechem Miyad, so it'll be mutter. But let's say you want to take it out 3 hours before, remember. So then, and if there's a shower, and then that's one shower. You have to make
that's
sure
called Mutter Liyad?
What?
That's called Eichel Liyad if you're not going to eat it?
That's called miyad, time to defrost.
It's a shower. If it takes, let's say, a half an hour to defrost, everybody basically is maybe you could take it out a half an hour from the soup. But let's say it takes a half an hour to fill it, and you're not going to be around, you're going to minute. So you want to take it out 2 hours before, because you're not going to have time. But that pashtus, that's not called liyad. I wouldn't know.
It takes 2 hours to defrost, then
Doesn't it takes 2 hours to defrost? That a lot of it's good. But it takes an hour to defrost, and you want to take it out in the middle of the day. That's one thing you have to worry about for coming later. You have to make sure there's nothing. And then there's a different shower. The shower's muktzah.
You said you have to dig together, that means you're moving away other
So every time you eat chicken,
You're not taking a break. Moving away is not just
Let's say it's in the way.
But then there's different showers. The shower's muktzah. You're moving muktzah. So then you have to figure out what the things are muktzah. You would have to move the tachayad.
if somebody wants to use concentrated made peiros in order to make a mezainis roll, the way his concentrated made peiros works, he has 20% real apple juice and the rest 80% is water, and he uses that to make the mezainis rolls. Can he do that?
So I think to answer this question, First, we have to go Hakdama about what the Indian of the whole Zionist brand, the Zionist scrolls, and the Yoshua to this. Now we know that if you want to buy any bread that's made by the Goyim, even though you look high and low, you won't find bread that's Zionist bread. I'm not talking about bracha, of course you won't find that. I'm talking about the bread that's made from the night. You won't find it. The whole Metzias by the Goyim you don't have. What's Pshat? Why not? Well, it's so hard to figure out. How can only the Yidden figure out such a discovery? It's a big kasha. You hear the kasha?
Just that he didn't figure out things that God don't figure out that does is but
the answer is because they're happy that there was a bris that said Hurrah, right?
The answer is because the guy wants to eat cake, he'll eat cake. He wants to eat bread. What does he need? Bread that has sugars. So what's Pshat Yidden to discover such an invention? Pshat is because the person, a lot of times, he doesn't want to wash. Bench, takes time to wash, bench and everything. So what are you going to do? You want to have a good breakfast. You don't want to eat cake for breakfast. It's not healthy. So what do? You want to have a good breakfast with bread and eggs and everything, and you don't want to eat cake, and you want to wash, and you don't want to wash, and you don't want to bench, so you're stuck. You're stuck. So they made an invention that you could have your bread for breakfast, healthy breakfast, and still you don't have to wash and bench. How can you do such a thing? Oh, that's the invention. It's Messiah's bread. The Shaila is, but what makes it Messiah's? What makes it Messiah's? The whole Yisayt of Messiah's is because it's not the derech to be kaveya, but here using it instead of bread, it's not Mishnah. So the Yisayt is based on the Das Torah. There's a Das Torah and brings the Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef, the beginning handles what's the Yisayt of passive of the kissin. Why don't you have to make a mitzi on passive of the kissin? So Beis Yosef, the first Mahalach he wants to say that since bread has to have water, so bread without water doesn't have a shem pass. It only has a shem pass if it has water. And then they say it goes more. Even if it's right may payers and miyat water is bottled in the right payers, so it's like it doesn't have water. So bread without even right may payers is not a person they say and he says that second shot, no, that he said because the derech of people, they don't kaveh suda on these type of things. It's too sweet and everything. So mela, that's fair. My Sham wants to say that even though the says it has another shot, but he never backed off from his first mahalach. It's right make Paris. It can't be pas. Pas needs water. Right make Paris is water. So he never backed off. So that's what the Torah says. So mela, if you have a bread that's right make Paris, even though it tastes like bread, it doesn't matter. It's not bread. That's the first thing. Now, Shmuel brings up right and he doesn't speak up. But he brings down the Gemara. And when he says, Shemin Dvash, Binin Shirei Mehem, Umiyat Mayim, and what's the Mila? Shayizen Nirgash Mehen Hatam Harba Mayim. You taste the very good in the Shulchan Aruch. He brings from Tashla. Many Achrayim say Klar. But even it's right, make Paris has to be Nirgash Mahat, Nirgash Harba. So if a person goes with the Mishnah Berurah or the Shulchan Aruch, there's nothing to talk about. You don't have to have this Zionist Shulchan Aruch. But what's the factory? The factory says, okay, it's true, according to Mishnah Berurah you don't have it, according to the Shulchan Aruch. But the nice of Das Torah does say such a thing. It's a Shas HaTchak. It's a Shas HaTchak. They don't have time to bench. They don't have time to wash. What are they going to do? So Shas HaTchak, you could be Samech, even on a sheet of you have a right to be Samech on your Das Torah. Das Torah is very big. That's the issue. That's the hot. I'm sorry? No, even if you eat kaveh suda, so then even if you eat chocolate cake in your kaveh suda, you have to wash. That doesn't help. They're talking about you're not making a whole kaveh suda. distortion. Okay, that's the Hakdama. Now, the Sforim talk about that the Chayra, even if you want to be go with this Chayra, there's two problems with the Zionist bread and the Zionist rolls. First problem is that the way they do it today is not like Hamoed, that it was, you have 100%. What they take is concentrate, because they ship from other places, the Jews, they're not going to ship. So they take out the water, they ship the concentrate, and then you have the company gets the water. So complacent. So you can't tell me that it's right-made payers if 80% is water and 20% is concentrate. And this, the Minchas Yitzchak says with other pasha like that, and the Shevet Levi says the pasha like that. Shmuel Felder said that even according to Das Torah, if it's from concentrate, you would not have the Das Torah's have that, because it's not right-made payers. And the second thing, this is what I'm talking about, that even if you're going to say that you take it pure made payers, but the whole you say is if you're not kaveya. But the bread, the Zionist bread and the Zionist roll, people they eat the kaviyas, they make a meal out of it. It's like regular bread. So even the Das Torah would be masculine. It's like eat cake. That's the two shots. Years ago, like 30, 40 years ago, when I look into the Shaila, so I called up the mashkia at this factory. I didn't remember which factory it was. I don't remember the mashkia's name. I called him up. I said, you give the hashkacha on the Zionist roll, the Zionist bread? He says, yeah. I said, I don't understand you. This time I said it without cup. It said, but I don't understand. First of all, they make it from concentrate today. I said, Shlomo Zalman, Rav Yasher, not Rav Yasher, Rav Shlomo Zalman, Rav Posner, Minchas Yitzchak, all say if it's from concentrate, it has no shintan. That's the first thing. And the second thing I said, well, mice it's bread and the thing. People they use it for kfiyas, so it has nothing to do with Torah. That's the two questions I asked. So the first thing, he must have been a very old man, because he said, look, ich bin nicht von der heintige da. Mit die heintige Feisken. Ich came with the free. So he told me, when he became a shkia on the thing, he said he had the shadow because they made it from concentrate. He said he asked the Satmar Rav, the B'yenis and Shtayv, the Salem Rav, the Papa Rav. Does the Genik fire? And they all told me, and he talked in Yiddish. No, concentrate is the same thing as pure, because concentrate makes it back. So they don't. So he says, this looks to me.
Nah,
Was? So then I said, okay, listen to the zweite Sache. It's gemacht, Kviyas. So how could he says, Einach Nami. If a person eats it for Kviyas, he has to make a note in Mishkan Shabbat. So I said, well, how can you write Mezainis on the wrap? He says, no, if you eat it like a piece of cake, you take it with a coffee. So we have a right to write Mezainis. It's Metzitz Mezainis. If you take shorter cake, you eat for Kviyas, also you have to make a nice. So what's the problem? That was his answer. The first answer is a better answer. Anyway, that was his thing. Come on, that's the story with the Zionist Roman. It's not, it's like a Sveika, I'm going to say. But I just want to say, I saw in Measure Steinbach, he has a tshuva, they asked him, the person asked him that, how could the Eidach Reidus give a hechsher and say the Zionist on the rolls that they give in the airplane, that if you make the kfiyas, it's not. So he said, the rolls on the best sheet is, the rolls on the plane, it's a tiny little roll. And the main meal is the other thing. It's not called kaviyas. It's not called kaviyas. So if you go with the Das Torah, that it's Mizayis. The whole shot is a conveyor. They hold on the plane is not conveyors. But in limit, if the person makes sandwiches and all these things, it's either for all, rather than the mask, they have to make a mitzvah.
And the rolls are concentrated from Rav Shmuel, from the Ein Halacha?
I think basic theory. And I didn't ask.
But the sword makes sense. You could argue that sword.
Yeah,
If you bought
that's
some
it,
out
you can
80%, you put it back.
Of course you can argue. Okay, but I wonder, that's the one short of the story. So Ben Tyra, I don't think he's going to be but I just want to say, well,
Should he not make a mitzi?
you can make a mitzi. A person can make a mitzi, a Zionist bread, or a Zionist roll, and he doesn't have to be chayshish brother. If he eats a big piece, no shame. And even if he doesn't eat it, it's time. He goes with the Mishnah Berurah, Shulchan Aruch, and everybody else.
Taste the parents.
Okay?
Taste the parents. Taste the parents. Then it goes to one up before it.
No, only if it's Nirgish Hatam Harkos. It's not Nirgish Hatam Harkos. There's a shul in Selachach, and I was interested in shul at the factory that made Zionist bread. They make both breads, Zionist bread and Nugget bread. But it got mixed up. This is bread. So they said they had no way of knowing the difference. They know. They say bittul, not bittul. That was the shahiyah as a shul. You don't taste the difference. I just want to say, but the whole shaila of the Zionist bread and everything is based on what the person is a shas hadchan. What's the shas hadchan? They shouldn't have to bench. A person has to understand that you need a shas hadchan, not that you shouldn't have to bench. Okay, you should have a shas hadchan that you should be able to bench. And it says, the chinuch, everybody knows, the chinuch says that it's gula, when a person benches kavana, is luftach like, and it'll have parnasa, berevach, and the covenant. So a person buys insurance, all different things. And he can buy insurance for free by benching, and he doesn't do it. It's mamish. It's very hard to understand a person that doesn't. I know a person that he told me his mother, she washes 3 times a day to be able to bench 3 times a day. Benching, you have all the hatzlacha and everything, benching. It's everything is up. I would say over 3 mices, the kids are benching, maybe they're on my own. Once, at this show, when he was becoming mashpia, he wanted to get some shivvish from Shach, so he called it, the Shach said they could sit in. You could sit in, so. Yeah. So when he sat by Rav Shach the whole day, and anybody that had a problem, whatever the problem is, kids, chinuch, anything you can think of sickness, Rav Shach's answer was, bench from a bencher. Bench from a bencher, that was something. And once he said Rosh Hashiva came in with his wife, Chashiv Rosh Hashiva, and he had a problem, I don't remember what the problem was, and Rav Shach said, bench with a bencher. Bench with a bencher. So the Rosh Hashiva looked at him, what, me, you telling me to bench with a bencher? So Rav Shach, my kid said, Rav Shach said, Chaim Leisa was a big guy. He had a problem with memory and the whole story. And he says that Chaim Leisa used to bench with a bencher. That's one. Like mine. The second, I know somebody, he's not around anymore, but when years ago, there was somebody from Lakewood, years ago, his wife, he got sick. And because he got sick, couldn't work anymore. And then his kids started going off and there. So it was 3 big things. He didn't know what to do. So he made a special, he decided he's going to Rav Shach. He asked him, what should he do? What should he do? So he made a special thing. He traveled to Israel special. He told him Rav Shach was important. What should he do? He told Rav Shach the whole thing. And Rav Shach said, I answer to you, bench with a bencher. Bench with a bencher. He was very disappointed. He thought Rav Shach would tell him such a, well, that's what he came to Israel to tell him to bench with a bencher. So he was very disappointed. He decided he's going to go to Rav Stein. He didn't tell Rav Stein that he went to Rav Shach. He went to Rav Stein and he told Rav Stein the whole. thing, says, what does Eibishter want with me? What's that? So Shtar said, was Eibishter will the Pesach? The Eitzah kann ich nicht geben. Yeah, what's the Eitzah? Bench for not bench. And then third thing, I know this Meister Shai, Gertz told me, that his wife got sick and everything, and she went to doctors with serious sickness. The doctor said he'll do treatments and everything. They don't know if she's going to be successful, but she'll never have children anymore. That's not again. So they went to Chaim Kanievsky. Chaim Kanievsky said she should start washing and bench from the bench. And bench from the bench. I think the husband also should do it. I don't know. So anyway, they did it in the couple, and they did it. Nice and successful. They have, last I know, they had 4 kids. Maybe they now more. But everybody should have a good time.
I was going to say that they make the Zionist bread for people like Rav Schwab who can't split the meal because they can't bench twice in a row.
Die ganze Leute like to give a big Yashifet of Shmuel Felder Shlit for the gewaltige Shir. Anybody want copies of the Shir? If you're available soon, you have a flash of it.
What? I don't have a flash. If you have a flash, I can. Oh, you can give it.
I used to see the young face
What's some make some put on a
Big much. I eat that big much.
Does that have a
Shab it. I eat that big much.
No? Is she also the from Chimera? Yeah, I'm going to try to get her off the machine.
Any shake if you take the
No, it's fine. Don't worry. I didn't see you shake, but your foot was next to me. So I was just worried that you might shake.